UiPath has got two design experiences. One is the classic and the other is the modern design experience. As an RPA developer, we should know both the experiences, how to use what. In this playlist, we are covering the classic versus the modern design in a step-by-step manner where we are focusing more on the modern design. In the previous videos of the playlist, we have covered already all of these topics. In case you are absolutely new to modern design and you want to get started, you can refer to the playlist and get started. Today in this video we are going to continue our object repository thing, and we are going to deep dive into object repository and try to understand its structure. In the previous video, we have already seen what exactly is object repository, how does it work, how do we create it, how do I share it to a new developer, and how do we use it in a new project, right? So in case you haven't watched the previous video, I would request you to watch the object repository first video so that it is easy for you to understand the structure, right? So I have posted the link in the description for your reference. Now, today in this video, this would be our agenda. We are going to start with a quick recap of whatever we have covered in the previous video. We are going to see how does the object repository is created, what is the structure, what are the key concepts as a developer you should be aware of, because in case you have to work on a complex object repository, there would be always a requirement to edit the object repository, and in case you don't understand the structure of object repository, you won't be able to edit it, right? So we are going to see what are the key concept, structure, and then I would try my best to show you guys directly in the UiPath studio with the live elements that how this structure is automatically created, right? So this would be our agenda which we are going to cover in this video. In case you are coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest videos in the object repository. This is free for you, but it helps me to grow my YouTube channel. Having said that, let's get started. So first thing first, just a quick recap. What exactly is a object repository? So consider a scenario, right? That where 5 developers has to work on the same thing. So instead of creating the code 5 times, what would happen? Developer 1 would create the code, and developer 1 will import the code, export the code, sorry, as an object repository, and the other 4 developers can reuse all the automation things as a UI taxonomies within their automation project. It is available both for internally as well as externally. The object repository definition wise is a centralized storage system that allows developers and automation teams to store, manage and reuse the UI elements, right? And that all the things can happen within the project as well as in the different project as well. So we have seen this with the help of example, right? So how does it work? So you use something which is called capture elements. This we did already in the last video. We captured the screen, then object repository was automatically created, and then as a developer you just have to drag and drop the elements into its place. Okay, so this was just to make the context. Okay, so now having said that, we understand that yes, object repository created, UiPath automatically created it, but what are the things it is creating and where they are located? So the first thing is you should remember that these are the 7 concepts of the object repository. Most of it you would be already familiar with because you guys, I hope, are covering the modern design and the selector series with me, but still I'll again repeat it for you. The first concept is the UI descriptors, right? So whenever I say descriptor, it is a combination of the selector as well as the anchor. In other words, a descriptor is a superset of selectors, right? So selectors, as we understand that it's a technology that helps UiPath to identify the elements on the screen. That was there in the classic design as well. In the modern design, the modern design experiences also add different technologies to it, right? It adds the selectors, it adds the fuzzy selector, image automation, CV automation, then you have anchors, and all of that together is called a descriptors, right? And a descriptor can be part of one project. It can be a snippet. in the repository for testing purposes, or it can be UI libraries for global cross project sharing, right? And that is what we have created, UI libraries, right? So first key concept which you should remember is the descriptor. We already had a dedicated video on descriptor, so please do watch to explain this to get this concept in more details. Okay. The second concept for the object repository you should remember is the UI application. So whenever somebody says that, hey, in the object repository your UI application is not working, or there is a new version of UI application. So as a developer, you should understand that they are referring to an application or a targeted element that can have multiple versions. So when I say UI application is user interface application, it can be a desktop, it can be a web application, it can be a mobile application as well. Okay, so let's say today if I'm automating Notepad and I am creating an object repository of Notepad, so that means that my UI application is a Notepad. Okay, then moving to the right hand side, we have something which is called screens. What exactly are the screens? Screens are the scope that are either extracted from the activity or are generated by runtime when you use the capture screen, right? So a screen group together the multiple elements belonging to the same screen. So what does it mean? So let's say I am in the page 1, page 2 and page 3. There are 3 pages in the website, page 1, page 2, page 3. So if I talk about what is the UI application, the UI application is a browser. Now in the UI application we have to work on page number 1, which is the screen 1. So I have 3 screens into 1 UI applications. Okay. After the screen, we have something which is called UI elements. These are the elements which would contain the full or the partial selector and the anchor information, basically all the information about the element in terms of selector, anchor, image would be stored in this elements, which is called the UI elements, right? So you have UI descriptor, you have UI application, screen, UI elements, and then you have something which is called UI libraries. UI library is something nothing but a library project where you encapsulate all the things like application, screen, UI elements together into a bundle, and that bundle now can be shared to different projects, right? As we did in the last video. So in the last video we created a UI library. So what was a UI library? It was a combination of the application, the screen and the UI elements all together clubbed into a single thing which is called a UI library. Now in the new project, if you guys remember, we just added that project as a dependency. So UI library is creating a dependency for you which you can easily add into other application, and it is always published as a UI library project, right? And the last thing in the concept which you should remember is the UI activities, which allows you to see a full list of activities which you have done in your process. Okay, so these are the concept which you guys should remember when you are working with object repository, right? So these are the key concept. Okay, now the second thing which you should remember is what is the structure. Okay, so we understand that there are 6-7 components which are available, or the concepts which are available, but if I have to put it in a structure, that which is at the top level, which comes after that, which comes after that, which is the parent, which is the child, you should remember what is the structure. Structure is very important in object repository because that is going to guide you as a developer that what I require from which application, which version and which screen. So what you see on the screen, this is a structure of a object repository. Okay, the object repository has a tree structure where each node is a object representing the screen or the elements. The structure is the following. At the top you would always have the application. It can be the mobile, it can be the desktop, it can be the web, depending on the technology whichever you have used for the UI automation. I pointed to Notepad, my application become Notepad. Okay, then every structure has something which is called version. So version, same like you have the version for the NuGet package 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. UI repository also has something which is called the versions that would guide you that okay, which version you are using. Developer 1 has published version 2.0, so developer 2 might be in a different version, right? So to sync up, we have something which is called the version. Then the screen, the top level window of that screen where you have created that object repository, and lastly what exactly we want to do, that is called the UI element. So the top is application, then the version, then the screen, and then the UI element, right? So two things we have discussed till this: what are the key concepts and what is the object repository structure. Okay, now let's go to UiPath Studio and try to locate all of this in the UiPath Studio so that you guys are able to relate and you do not forget these concepts. Okay, let's go back to the UiPath Studio. Okay, so I am back into my UiPath Studio, and this is the same project guys, double UI demo, which we have created last time. And you would see that in the project dependencies, double UI descriptor is added, and we just are dragging and dropping it from the object repository here like this. Okay, so this we have already discussed and we'll keep it here only. Okay, now where are these things located? So for example, I'll just open an application. Let's start with Notepad so that you guys can also follow along, right? So this is a Notepad application. Now, as soon as I click on this button, which is the object repository, and then let's try to create the object repository for this application Notepad. Okay, so I'll go to object repository. Let me pin this, and then I'll go here and I click on this button, which is the record button. Okay, and I'll pull up my Notepad. And then you simply have to click on this button, which is the start recording, right? Now just keep an eye on the things which are happening. So last time we just directly started this. Now the first thing, if you remember the structure, the first thing was application. That is why it is asking me select the application, because application is the top level which you have to select, right? So select the application. I selected the application, and now here in this one you would see that you have got the application untitled Notepad, and this becomes your screen. This is the application and this is the screen, right? So since this is only having one, so that's why you would see here when I click on this one you have the application, and when I click on the second one it says the screen. Okay, so now for the application you can just go here and you can name it something like that, right? You have an option to edit it, right? So these are the things which we didn't discuss in the last video, that's why we are explaining it here. Okay, so here in the application I have an option to change it, and this is the version which I was talking about. Okay, you have an option to put the description, so I can say that this is, let's say, Notepad. Okay, anything. So Notepad app 1.0, and this we have put. Now the next one is the screen. So by default it has taken the name as untitled Notepad, but you have an option to change it to something like that, like let's say main screen. Okay, then you have the description, so I can say that this is the main screen for Notepad. Okay, so what we are trying, we are creating a descriptor. You have an option here where this is application path is coming, you can put it here. Then this is the simple thing which is the selector, you can just go and add it here. Okay, so as soon as you click it, you would have noticed that the first, as we discussed, the UI repository structure, application, inside the application you have the screen, and inside the screen, now as soon as you click on anything, let's say I click on this button, file. Okay, inside the file, inside the main screen, now file is added, and if I click on the file, this is nothing but the element, right? So what is the element? The element is the file. Now here you can just provide the description, so I can say that this is the file button. Okay, and this is the descriptor which it has generated, which include the selector, fuzzy selector, text, computer vision, all the things whichever we discussed in the previous videos are all available here. You want to do image automation, enable it, and image would be automatically available, right? So perfectly working fine with the modern design experiences, right? Now let's say for the file button I wanted to add an anchor, so I let's say point it to the format button. You would see that just after the selector, anchor is automatically added, which is again identified by strict selector, fuzzy selector, everything whatever you have seen in the modern design is applicable here as well. Once it is done, just click on save and continue, right? So this is the structure. For simplicity, let us try to add one more element, let's say for help. Okay, so now help is again one more element, right? So now if I ask you guys what is the structure is like this. First you get the application. Inside the application we have a screen. Inside the screen we have the elements, and then the elements have their properties, selectors and all the stuff, right? Once it is done, we just go and click on this button, which is save and continue. And once all of this that is done, we just go and click on this button which says save, right? And then in the project UI descriptor, so these are the UI libraries, guys. Now in the last one I told you that now in the upcoming videos I'll tell you the difference between this. So UI descriptors, as it says, project UI descriptors. What are the descriptors you created inside the project? This is just we created main screen, format, help, whatever you told, right? Whatever you gave in that wizard. Now there is one more section which is called the UI libraries, which means that if your project is using a descriptor which was created in a different project, you would get that in this one, which is the UI libraries. And how do you get it here? You just add the dependencies here, because that's what we added in the last project, right? So that is the difference between the project UI descriptors and the UI libraries. Okay, so this is application, screen and this elements. I hope this is clear. Now coming back to the presentation, right? So we have application, version, screen and the UI element which we have seen. Okay, to better understand the structure, what I have got is I have got a entirely new UI descriptor from a different project, and here we just wanted to look at all the elements, right? So let's look at. So first thing is, where exactly is the UI application? So you can see here, this is your UI application. The top thing is the UI application. Inside the UI application you would have something which is called the screen. Okay, so you have an application, and inside that application you would have something which is called the screen. Understood? After the screen you have all these elements: cache in, owner's check, not owner's check. These are the elements. All these UI elements have something which is called properties, which we can customize here. We can customize the selectors, anchors, all these things we can do here, right? So application, screen, UI elements, then UI elements have properties, and then this is the hierarchy, right? So what is the hierarchy? Here you can see that how your things are located. So you can clearly see, right, that you have an application. Inside that application you have one screen, and inside that one screen you have 3 elements. There might be projects, or there might be repository in your project, in a live project, where you might need to add multiple screen, or where you might need to add multiple applications also. Okay, so all of that is possible in this one, which we will see in a step-by-step manner, right? So hierarchy simply represent that what exactly this thing does. So as clearly visible that I have an application whose name is UI demo, it has a screen, and inside that screen we have 3 elements, and 3 elements has this properties. I hope you are with me till this point, and if you clearly understood the structure of the object repository, please comment down structure. Okay, so that would help me to understand that yes, you guys are now comfortable with the structure of the UI repositories. Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.